From going all out with a more violent approach to boost their tanking ratings, to loosening up their creative rules, giving wrestlers the freedom to be their true selves. This is the real cause of WWE's Attitude Era. First off, back in the mid-90s, the World Wrestling Federation found itself in a tough spot. Their rival wrestling promotion, World Championship Wrestling, and the upstart Extreme Championship Wrestling were delivering products that outperformed the WWF's New Generation era. The WCW's New World Order angle was red hot, while ECW's focus on brutal violence and edgy storylines resonated with an adult audience that had turned away from the WWE's offerings. So how did the WWE save itself from the brink of destruction? Well, they did what any savvy company would do. They borrowed ideas from everyone else, and then took those ideas and knocked them out of the park. The WWE took a few cues from ECW's playbook and started marketing extreme violence and overt sexualization of the sport. It all really started when Vince McMahon cranked up the edginess factor in the WWE spotlight, and that was when McMahon used Vince Russo's help using his Crash-style booking. They transformed the product from a fan-friendly presentation into an adult-centered extravaganza that had us all on the edge of our seats. That's what kicked off the Attitude Era in November 1997, when wrestling superstars like The Undertaker, Triple H, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mankind, and The Rock skyrocketed to fame and became absolute legends in the industry. But it didn't stop there. We witnessed tag teams like the Hardy Boys, Edge and Christian, the Dudley Boys, and the New Age Outlaws step up and bring some serious relevance to the tag team division. Those guys gave us some of the most iconic matches in wrestling history. Sure, the birth of the Attitude Era may have been born out of desperation, but man, did it take WWE to heights they hadn't experienced before or since. WWE eventually acquired WCW, forever changing the landscape of professional wrestling. This move ruffled the feathers of parent groups, since they were more used to the WWF's family-friendly programming during the Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant days. But the edgier content also drew in viewers like never before, and pay-per-view buy rates skyrocketed, as well as the TV ratings, which soared higher than WCW's. The WWF had successfully reclaimed its throne, and in this fierce battle for wrestling supremacy, the WWF proved that they could adapt, evolve, and deliver a product that resonated with fans in a whole new way. This era of intense competition reshaped professional wrestling as we know it. It brought forth a wave of rebellious characters, controversial storylines, and a shift towards more adult-oriented content. The boundaries were pushed, and wrestling became edgier, more unpredictable, and undeniably captivating. In the end, the WWE won this battle for dominance, with WCW eventually going out of business. The impact of this intense rivalry can't be overstated, but as times changed, the inevitable decline of the Attitude Era began. The world was evolving, and TV was no exception. The days of excessive swearing and blood splattering all over the place were gone. And it just wasn't as acceptable as it used to be. People wanted something different, something more family-friendly. So, what happened? We started to see a decline in the use of blood in wrestling matches, especially after 2006-7. The whole practice of blading, where wrestlers intentionally cut themselves to draw blood, was strictly prohibited. It was a major shift in the industry, and not everyone was happy about it. Fast forward nearly 15 years, and now there are rumors floating around that WWE might bring back the TV 14 rating for their flagship shows Raw and SmackDown. Can you imagine the buzz this has created? Lapsed fans are losing their minds, getting all riled up and excited. They miss the glory days of the past, the Attitude Era. It was a wild ride, but let's dive into what made it so controversial, and why trying to bring back that content would stir up a storm on social media. First off, we gotta talk about the language. Yeah, the F-bomb might have been off limits, but oh boy, there were plenty of other curse words flying around like crazy. Austin and DX were notorious for pushing the boundaries and dropping colorful language left and right. But in today's world, you can bet that bringing back that level of profanity would spark an outrage. And it wasn't just the language that was unhinged. This era was all about pushing the limits with brutal, blood-soaked brawls. Austin's clashes with The Undertaker and Rock's hardcore matches with Mick Foley are etched in our memories for a reason. But times have changed, and with the focus on safety and the well-being of the performers, those hardcore matches would likely face a ton of backlash on social media. People would be calling for safer environments and more responsible storytelling. But maybe the most glaring issue from the Attitude Era was how WWE used to treat women. And back then, women's wrestling took a back seat to simply being eye candy. There may have been exceptions like Trish Stratus and Lita who showcased their in-ring skills, but they were still mostly objectified and put in awkward situations. From evening gown matches to bikini contests, and let's not forget the cringe-worthy moments, like Stratus being made to bark like a dog by Vince McMahon, or characters like a wrestling pimp surrounded by prostitutes. Safe to say that this kind of portrayal of women won't fly in today's era of female empowerment and equality. And honestly, it shouldn't have flown at the time either. While the Attitude Era was a wild and memorable time in wrestling history, trying to replicate that content today would be met with a tsunami of backlash, and that's just one of the reasons why WWE's sponsors wouldn't be cool with a revival as well. The big bucks come from advertisers who pay top dollar to have their brands associated with WWE, as well as the TV network partners like USA and Fox, who play a major role in this equation. While USA may be open to the idea of Raw shifting back to a TV-14 rating, it's hard to imagine Fox being as accepting, especially considering that SmackDown airs during the family-friendly 8 p.m. EST Family Hour. These network partners have certain expectations and guidelines they expect WWE to stick to, and it's not like WWE hasn't put in a great deal of effort in cultivating a family-friendly image, especially over the past decade. They've intentionally positioned themselves as a brand that appeals to kids and promotes positive values. This strategic move has helped boost revenue through various streams like TV deals, licensing agreements with platforms like Peacock, and merchandise sales aimed at younger fans. The sponsors who contribute a significant portion of WWE's revenue would definitely have a say in going back to the adult-oriented content. WWE's executive team, being well aware of the financial success they currently enjoy, would also approach any potential changes with caution, not wanting to risk alienating their partnerships and compromising their overall financial stability. It's also because of that same corporate red tape that wrestlers aren't fully able to express themselves anymore, and WWE's current creative rules would have clearly destroyed the Attitude Era. That was a time fueled by the freedom for wrestlers to express themselves and improvise, something that seems to be lacking in WWE's current creative landscape. With Vince McMahon's retirement announcement and the appointment of Stephanie McMahon and Nick Khan as co-CEOs, we're still waiting to see if any significant changes are made to the way WWE operates. As of now, the current creative team remains intact, and they're really strict about sticking to the script and a lack of creative freedom for performers. Outside of top talent like Roman Reigns, Brock Lesnar and Randy Orton has become the norm. It dilutes performers' ability to develop their characters organically. In the Attitude Era, the best characters were often exaggerated extensions of the wrestlers' real personas, and they were given the liberty to improvise and connect with the audience in a more authentic way. Superstars like Steve Austin and The Rock were masters at inventing their own catchphrases, contributing to their merchandise designs, and even making spontaneous decisions in the ring that paid off in a huge way. In contrast, the current WWE environment really discourages performers from experimenting, and those who dare to try something out just end up facing repercussions on screen. If this had been the mindset during the Attitude Era, the sparks of creativity that ignited that time may have been snuffed out, way before they had a chance to become the defining flames of the Monday Night War. So for any sort of Attitude Era revival to truly succeed, WWE would need to embrace a more flexible, creative approach and allow performers to tap into their own instincts and creativity. Only then could we hope to recapture the magic that made the Attitude Era such an amazing period in wrestling history. So there you have it, folks. From the rules being tightly enforced these days to the violent approach that once boosted their ratings, that was the real cause of WWE's Attitude Era.